What does it mean to boast? Is it bad if I stand up and I tell everybody about how great I am? Is it bad if I put my work history on a resume? What am I allowed to do? How is it loving? How is it not? What's this even look like? And how am I supposed to talk to people, frankly? Well, today we're talking about boasting. Let's dive right in. Welcome back, everybody. My name is AP Raleigh, author of Abide, and I make Christian content to help both you and me grow in our walk with Christ together. Now, talking about boasting, this is something that I was so confused on because I want to say you know it when you see it, but at the same time, that's not a defined parameter. That's not really helpful. How do I know for absolute certainty where that line is and what's the gray? And there's things that are that kind of scale, but this one, not so much. In going into this, I found it was really interesting that the word in 1 Corinthians 13:4, which that's what we're back to, talking about what love is, and love is not boastful. And that boastful portion there, that's only used one time in the entire Bible. Now I know in the English it says boastful several other spots. There's more to it than that. In fact, 2 Corinthians 12, same author, you got Paul sitting there talking about how he's going to boast in his weakness. Well, Paul, how is that okay when you just said don't do that? That's not loving. Well, they're not the same word. Even though they translate the same, they mean two completely different things. And this got me thinking, what truly is this boastful concept? And it seems like it's talking about yourself or talking about one's own accomplishments for your own pleasure. Frankly, nobody else really cares, wants to hear, etc. But what that looks like is this point of pride, because it's for your own self that you are exclaiming how great you are. It's not coming out of this sense of insecurity of like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I've only done this, and this. I'm just not sure. That's not boasting, that's questioning, and that's a very different thing. Or it's intending to credentialize or try to understand, like, hey, am I able to speak on a topic? And I wondered when I started this, I was like, oh my gosh, talk about I wrote a book. Is that okay? And the point of referring to that is frankly so I can say, hey, this is something I truly believe in enough that I've spent my time and my energy to dive into, to share my heart, and that's something I want to keep doing. And that's credentializing. It's not a boast. It's a book, and a lot of people have written them. And there's this other side though, because oftentimes we want to say, okay, well, if boasting is then just okay, it's not credentializing, it's not questioning, it's simply talking about myself for my own gain, for my own pleasure, because I'm awesome, obviously, and everyone else isn't. Yeah, we want to go the other direction then immediately. If I don't want to hate, then I want to love. Seems simple enough. Let's just jump the tracks. And love's got nothing to do with boasting. If I want to love people, then I can't be boasting. And frankly, not about myself, not about them. That boasting doesn't really belong in this. And understanding that, again, when we come back, boasting is for that person's benefit. If I'm boasting, that's for my benefit and my benefit alone. That's not for you. That's not to say you're great. You'll see that line get crossed almost all the time with parents talking about their kids, and then these kids having this intense weight, this intense burden because my kid's the smartest, my kid's the best, they've done this, they got perfect scores, they got all this, and all of a sudden there's this massive burden and weight on this kid that they just can't live inside of. Well, that's not loving. And frankly, why were you doing it to start with? It wasn't because you're proud of the kid, it's you're proud of yourself, and that's different. And that's not something that I've really gone through, but I've watched a lot of friends and such have issues with that growing up, and having that incredible mantle place so that they can't fail. And so we want to be the opposite of that. But the problem is, this is one where it's like we got two train tracks here, and we're just jutting off to the side, because the easy opposite, and it's frankly one that comes more naturally to me. I think just issues with my own self and coming to terms with my past and my history of wanting to dive straight into self-deprecation and thinking that's the opposite. Well, if to talk myself up, if that's boasting, then I'm going to talk myself down. And that's not the case. It's humility. And humility is the opposite. It's okay that you've accomplished great things. It's okay that you're on top or that you've done something amazing. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to throw yourself down, say, I'm a piece of trash, I'm useless, I'm worthless, and I'm a terrible person. No. It's okay to just be humble, that I don't need to, I can be a good person, I can be great, I can accomplish wonderful things, and I don't need to shove them in your face. I don't need to force you to praise my journey, to want to be a part of that, to listen to my pontification about how great I am. That's not really, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, that sounds almost like I'm looking for worship. Like I'm looking for people to, I don't know, praise me. And that seems a little wrong. And again, I don't want to sidetrack of there's a lot of these like little tracks with this that are so close together because we just keep leaning way too far. It's like when you've lost control of your car in the snow and you try to overcorrect, and now we're spinning down the road instead of fixing the problem. It's not good. So we don't want to overcorrect here, because there's then this thought of, okay, well, I can't have this desire. It's wrong to have this desire to be acknowledged by others, by peers, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to be acknowledged. And there's these points of God talking about how wonderful that people are doing. Frankly, he's proud of them. They've done well, and that's not a boast. Because again, if it was a boast, it would be exclusively to make God look good, not them. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a relational thing. It's one way. And that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It's not a part of God. And so herein lies the big caveat, I think, of this one, the crux of it, where it shifts. We have this word exclusively used in this one spot that pretty much just means to talk yourself up for the benefit of yourself. That's it. It's frankly, it's annoying. It's not helping anyone. It's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. It's simply talking to hear yourself and have people like you, but you don't even notice they're annoyed. And there's another kind of boasting. That's the one in 2 Corinthians. And that word boasting, where Paul says, I'm going to boast in my weakness. And that's where we get off track. I always wanted that to be, okay, so if I'm boasting in my weakness, I'm vaunting about how terrible I am and how great God is in that space, because I'm truly awful and, useless and worthless, but God's super great and super awesome, which he is. And frankly, I'm not always the best. But that word means to hold your head up high. And when we push that around into English, it sounds very similar, because, if I was talking about, my major accomplishments in life and I'm holding my head up high and I'm better, and, I don't know, I could look down on the camera, like, it's much different than going, you know what, despite the fact that I am not able to do this, or that I'm struggling, or that I'm having problems. I mean, right now making this video, I've been struggling with being deeply burnt out and struggling back with depression. That doesn't mean that I can't still learn with God, that I can't still worship with God. It's something that should kind of take me out and off the board, and it doesn't mean life's easy, but my gosh, it's so cool to still be able to do these things with God. And what an achievement I see of my relationship with God, to be able to pursue this despite the situation going on. Without God, I wouldn't be able to do that. I think this would eat me alive. And that sort of phrase, I think that's what Paul is getting at. And I always hope I interpret it correctly. Because I think what he's getting at is this absolute heart of, no, I'm okay to hold my head up high and say, yes, I'm struggling. Yes, I'm having difficulty. Yes, I'm not perfect. And that's okay. I can still be proud of all the achievements going on, of my pursuit of God, of my work and all of this. I can still move in that direction despite what's going on, because when I'm weak, God makes me strong. And that's just this point where I get to show God through my life. And how cool is that? How amazing is that? That's a very different picture than, I have all the money in the world, I'm the coolest guy in the world, I give the best sermons, frankly, I'm 10 out of 10 in life, making millions, and I'm awesome, and so yeah, you should do what I do. Those are two very different stories, because one of them is all about the person, and one of them is all about a relationship with God. Not just, it's the beauty of what Paul has said. It's not just, I'm struggling, I'm weak, I can't do this. It's not just God is all-consuming and glorious. It's, look at this, an all-consuming and glorious God has come down to someone who is weak and struggling, and we've worked together and we built something absolutely beautiful. Look at what you benefit from in the relationship. I want you to have that. And that is such a different picture. It's awesome. And frankly, in order to have that kind of boasting he's talking about, you've got to have some humility, because you got to admit that you're struggling, that there's problems. The life ain't always peachy keen, and that's okay. That is loving. Not only that, but it shows a part of yourself. It shows a portion of who you are, to be able to admit that life is not perfect all the time. And that is okay, because it's through those struggles that we learn, and through those trials that we get stronger, and we build this relationship with God that's going to continue on into eternity. The most beautiful thing I heard said was not long ago, that the pastor said, your eternity doesn't start when you die, it starts when you accept Christ. That's just the jump off point. So enjoy. You're already started, and all that's going to change along the way is the scenery. That's it. And I love that. And so this portion, this opposite of boasting, this true, beautiful love, that's a picture of that relational journey, the relational walk. So I hope that helps. I hope you can understand that and see what's going on, and that clarifies a little bit. And I hope that we can learn to do that second type of boasting, where we're showing the relationship with God, that we're putting that on display, and making God the priority, that we're not going out and just pontificating about how wonderful we are and hoping that the wind will praise us. So with that, we are going to keep going on in the series. What is love? How does this look? And if you want to see more of those, go ahead, check out. I've got more of those over here for you. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing.